Testing continuity. Continuity, remember, is just if I have a piece of metal here and a piece of metal here, I should hear the meter beep if I touch them together. Beep. That means there's a complete path for electricity to flow between the 2 points. So if I short the terminals, the 2 probes on a multimeter, it ought to beep. Continuity indicates a connection exists between 2 points in a circuit. Continuity testing is used to determine the presence of breaks in wires and electrical circuits. If no continuity setting is available, you should use the resistance setting. So just set the resistance ought to be 0, instead of it just blinking at you showing infinity. Infinite resistance indicates that there is no continuity and that there is a break in the line. Little or no resistance indicates that there is continuity and that the circuit is complete. Again, don't do this on live circuits. Testing DC voltage. Testing DC voltage is similar to testing AC voltage. DC voltage has a positive pole and a negative pole, just like your car battery. A car battery is DC voltage. It is important to place the positive red lead on the positive side and the negative black lead on the negative side of the circuit. If leads are positioned backwards, the reading gives an incorrect polarity. So it might say minus 12 volts instead of positive 12 volts if you reverse the wires. It won't damage anything, but it'll just give you a minus in front, at least the newer ones. The digital meters are hard to break. The analog ones, the one with the needle, are very easy to break. So if you're new to this, get a digital meter. Don't get an analog one. They're very easy to break. Connecting leads backwards can damage an analog meter. So that's what I was just saying, right? So, okay. Testing a power supply. Many computer problems blamed on the operating system are really power-related problems. Using an uninterruptible power supply, or UPS, you can condition the line and resolve these problems. Test the power supply for proper functioning before adding a UPS. You know, I don't generally do this, but you can. If you have a really old power supply and the thing's acting funny, it probably is due for another motherboard and other stuff the way things change today. So in real life, just use your best judgment on this. There's no hard and fast rules for today's machines. And then find out if the client has any other power-related problems, like in the building. Then you can kind of know that it's not the UPS, not the power supply, it's in the building. So they have a lot of brownouts, they have a lot of power spikes. Symptoms of a bad power supply. Intermittent lockups, so the whole computer just locks up. Unexpected computer reboots, erratic problems during booting. Like one time it's this error, the next time it's a completely different error, the next time it boots, the next time it's a completely different error. So it's like, what the heck is going on here? You know, so it's probably power related. Changed or erased CMOS settings, so the BIOS keeps losing its memory. But that could mean just that the battery is bad for the CMOS. The destruction of data on mass storage devices. Well, that doesn't sound good, right? So 2 types of tests for power supplies. There's a basic test verifying voltages, an advanced test checking the internal components. Remember, we do not open power supplies. Very dangerous in there. You're just asking for trouble. Electricity is a strange beast. Don't tempt fate. You won't win. So the basic power supply voltage test. The only purpose of this test is to verify the existence and value of voltages. So is there voltage? And if so, what value is it? What do we want in a computer? 5 volts and 12 volts, right? 5 volts and 12 volts. So I held up a 10, but it's 5 and 12, okay? With time, most power supplies show a reduction in voltage. That's because the capacitors are waning. They're hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. So the way they work is they charge, discharge, charge, discharge. It's all they do. And in doing so, they get hot. And when they get cold, they expand and contract, and there's cardboard in there. And it just doesn't work well. So they're just kind of, the old ones were really cheaply made. The new ones are a lot better. So they'll last a lot longer, but they're still going to fade. So you can see that all the time the problems we're having are almost always with capacitors. Sometimes we have voltage regulators too. The old school voltage regulators weren't solid state and they had some issues. They were based on some materials. They weren't solid state like the ones we have today. So the drop in voltage shows in both the 5 volt and 12 volt outputs, or rails. We call these rails. When you start learning more about the power supplies, you'll see that the 5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail, they're not outputs, although they are voltage outputs. So you can refer to them interchangeably, no problem, nobody will complain, but just realize that, you know, you may see in the manuals and stuff like that that they're talking about the 5 volt rail and the 12 volt rail. The drop is more pronounced in the 12 volt output. So on the 12 volt rail, you might see a loss of 3 to 4 volts. On the 5 volt rail, you might see the loss of 1 volt. 1 volt on a 5 volt circuit is a lot. 1 volt on a 12 volt circuit is not a lot. You have a much higher tolerance on that than you do down at the 5 volt level. I think common sense will tell you that, right?